This poem is read by an artificial intelligence software.
Canto 16. By Ezra Pound. And before hell mouth, dry plain and two mountains, on the one mountain, a running form and another in the turn of the hill, and hard steel the road like a slow screw's thread, the angle almost imperceptible so that the circuit seemed hardly to rise, and the running form naked, Blake shouting, whirling his arms, the swift limbs howling against the evil, his eyes rolling, whirling like flaming cartwheels, and his head held backward to gaze on the evil as he ran from it, to be hid by the steel mountain, and when he showed again from the north side, his eyes blazing toward hell mouth, his neck forward, and like impair cardinal. And in the west mountain Il Fiorentino, seeing hell in his mirror, and low Sortles looking on it in his shield, and Augustine, gazing toward the invisible. And past them the criminal lying in the blue lakes of acid, the road between the two hills upward slowly, the flames patterned in lacquer, creminest actio, the limbo of chopped ice and sawdust, and I bathed myself with acid to free myself of the hell ticks, scales fallen louse eggs. Pollux Larna, the lake of bodies, aqua morta, of limbs fluid, and mingled like fish heaped in a bin, and here an arm upward, clutching a fragment of marble, and the embryos, in flux, new inflow submerging, here an arm upward, trout, submerged by the eels, and from the bank, the stiff herbage the dry knobbled path, saw many known, and unknown, for an instant submerging the face-gone generation. Then light air under saplings, the blue-banded lake under ether, an oasis, the stones, a calm field, the grass quiet, and passing the tree of the bough the grey stone posts, and the stair of grey stone, the passage clean squared in granite, descending, and I through this, and into the earth, potted terra, enter the quiet air the new sky, the light as after a sunset, and by their fountains the heroes Sigismundo and Malatesta Novello, and founders, gazing at the mounts of their cities. The plain distance, and in fount pools the nymphs of that water rising, spreading their garlands, weaving their water reeds with the boughs, in the quiet, and now one man rose from his fountain and went off into the plain. Prone in that grass, in sleep, at Gent de Voix. Wall, Strasbourg Galifet led that triple charge. Prussians, and he said, Plar's narration, it was for the honor of the army. And they called him a swashbuckler. I didn't know what it was, but I thought, this is pretty bloody damn fine. And my old nurse, he was a man nurse, and he killed a Prussian, and he lay in the street there in front of our house for 3 days, and he stank. Brother Percy, and our brother Percy. Old Admiral, he was a middy in those days, and they came into Ragusa place, those men went for the Silk War. And they saw a procession coming down through a cut in the hills, carrying something, the 6 chaps in front carrying a long thing on their shoulders, and they thought it was a funeral, but the thing was wrapped up in scarlet, and he put off in the cutter, he was a middy in those days, to see what the natives were doing, and they got up to the 6 fellows in livery, and they looked at it, and I can still hear the old Admiral, was it? It was Lord Byron dead drunk with the face of an AYN. He pulled it out long, like that, the face of an AYN. Gel. And because that son of a bitch, Franz Joseph of Austria, and because that son of a bitch Napoleon Barbish, they put Aldington on Hill 70, in a trench dug through corpses with a lot of kids of 16, howling and crying for their mamas, and he sent a chit back to his major, I can hold out for 10 minutes with my sergeant and a machine gun. And they rebuked him for levity. And Henri Gaudier went to it, and they killed him, and killed a good deal of sculpture at Ulti.
He went to it, with a lot of books from the library, London Library, and a shell buried him in a dugout, and the library expressed its annoyance.
And a bullet hit him on the elbow, gone through the fellow in front of him, and he read Kant in the hospital, in Wimbledon, in the original, and the hospital staff didn't like it. And Wyndham Lewis went to it, with a heavy bit of artillery, and the airmen came by with a mitrailleuse, and cleaned out most of his company, and a shell lit on his tin hut, while he was out in the privy, and he was all there was left of that outfit. Windler went to it, and he was out in the Gian, and down in the hold of his ship pumping gas into a sausage, and the boatswain looked over the rail, down into amidships, and he said, geez, look at the captain S.A. getting her up. And old Captain Baker went to it, with his legs full of rheumatics, so much so he couldn't run, so he was 6 months in hospital, observing the mentality of the patients. And Fletcher was 19 when he went to it, and his major went mad in the control pit, about midnight, and started throwing the phone about, and he had to keep him quiet till about 6 in the morning, and direct that bunch of artillery. And Ernie Hemingway went to it too much in a hurry, and they buried him for 4 days. Et ma foi, vous savez, tout les nerveux. Non, y a un limite, les bêtes n'y sont pas faites pour ça. C'est peu de chose un cheval. Les de 34 ans à 4 pas qui crient mon. Mais les costauds, la fin, la verdun, ni avec ses gros benchams et y voyant extrêmement clair. Qu'est-ce que ça vaut, les généraux, le lieutenant, on les pèse à un centigramme, ni rien que du bois. Notre capitaine, tout c'est qu'il y a de plus renferme de vieux polytechnician, mais solide, la tête solide. La, vous savez, tout fonction et les voleurs tous les vices, et les repas. Y avez-toi dans notre compagnie tous. Y sortient fuller un cadavre pour rien, winsournet sortis pour rien que ça. Et les botches tout c'est que vous voulez, militarisme, etc., etc. Tout ça mais, le français, I spat con y manger. Mais ces pauvres types et la fin y s'attaquent pour manger, sans orders les bêtes sauvages, on y fait prisonnier, ceux qui parlent français décient, pourquoi? Ma foi on attaque pour manger. C'est le corps gras, leur trains marcher 3 km à l'heure et se crier se grinquet, on l'entendait à 5 km. Ce qui finit la guerre. Liste officielle des morts 5 millions. Avez-vous dit? Oui. Voui tout santé le pétrole. Mais. Non. J'ai li engueul. J'ai la oui I dit, te un con. Ta rete la guerre. Oh voui. Tous les hommes de goût, y conviens, tout ça en arrière. Mais un mec comme toi. C'est homme, un type comme ça. C'est kilo hypu encaisser. Il était dans une fabrique. What, burying squad, terrasiers, avec leur tête en arrière, qui regardient comme ça en risque la vie pour un coup de pelle. Faut que ce soit bien carré, exact. Davus a bolcheviki der, und de decim, look over vatua Trotskys done, iss mede de them full bas. Iss mede de them full bas, iss he? Is mede de zemi vol bas? A Brest-Litovsk, yes. Ain't ya heard? I vine devor. De Drub's ISS released from the Eastern Front? Yes. On Van Day gets to day Western Front, ISS it how many gets der? And those dot gets der ISS so full off revolutions Van Day Frenches come drew, yes, they say? But. On de posh say, ain't ye a heard? Say, they got a revolution. That's the trick with a crowd, get 'em into the street and get 'em moving. And all the time there were people going down there, over the river. There was a man there talking to 1,000, just a short speech, and then move 'em on. And he said, yes, these people, they're all right, they can do everything except act. And go and hear 'em but when they are through come to the Bolsheviki. And when it broke, there was the crowd there, and the Cossacks, just as always before, but one thing, the Cossacks said, Pojaluista. And that got round in the crowd, and then a lieutenant of infantry ordered 'em to fire into the crowd, in the square at the end of the Nevsky, in front of the Moscow station, and they wouldn't, and he pulled his sword on a student for laughing, and killed him, and a Cossack rode out of his squad on the other side of the square and cut down the lieutenant of infantry, and there was the revolution. As soon as they named it. And you can't make 'em, nobody knew it was coming. They were all ready, the old gang, guns on the top of the post office and the palace, but none of the leaders knew it was coming. And there were some killed at the barracks, but that was between the troops. So we used to hear it at the opera that they wouldn't be under Haig, and that the advance was beginning, that it was going to begin in a week.